Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley defends teaching critical race theory in the military, slams offensive claims that troops are turning woke, and links white rage to the Capitol riot. Now, I know it's not the perfect segue off of, what we were just talking about, but there is this core element of what's happening to our political elites, our establishment, our industry elites, the ideology they've embraced. And this story actually freaked me out to see Joint Chief Chairman, he's a general, Mark Milley, saying that he's reading Mao Zedong and Lenin, but that doesn't make him a communist. And that white rage was what caused January 6th, essentially. It's offensive to say it. What did they say? The general appeared to link white rage to the Capitol riot on January 6th. Now, that's one of the freakiest things I've seen. I mean, this is a non-theistic religion. I guess you'd call it a cult.
Yeah.
At the highest levels of government.
Can't you just imagine the gunnery sergeant? Did you just make a transphobic comment, soldier?
That is not my pronoun. Yeah.
How dare you microaggress? Sir, I thought I was supposed to macroaggress.
Yeah, right.
Right. I have a gun for that reason, but apparently. So I have to wonder about, these are people who believe there is no truth but power. They have routinely said there's no objective reality. And the idea that there is no truth but power is, I would say to a certain degree, there's an element of truth to it, but it is a very, very fascistic ideology that is being employed by the left. When I say there's a certain element of truth, basically that means, sure, if a bunch of leftists have weapons and are beating you and then demand you say there are 5 lights, you can force someone to say there are 5 lights.
But there won't actually be. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But the history books will tell you that there were.
Right. And that's what the left has realized, that they can beat people into submission to just say falsehoods under the and assert it's true, and then they're hoping that in 10 years these stories will become history.
Right. Well, it's the left tells us they're doing this with the 1619 Project. They say outright, this woman, Nicole Hannah-Jones, lied about her central thesis, but she said, yeah, whatever. I don't care about the facts. I'm reframing American history to put slavery at the center of it, and it's very effective to do that, and that's what they're doing now in the Navy. The military was basically the last institution that the conservatives still had some control over. All of the other ones, the media, the schools, the administrative government, all of that had fallen a long time ago. And now in the military, you're seeing that total infiltration. The chief of naval operations came out, and he made what I felt was such a disingenuous argument to defend all this woke nonsense in the reading lists for the ensigns and the sailors. He said, we need our sailors to be critical thinkers. And I think what he really meant is we need our sailors to be critical theorists. You do not, if you want to be a good, effective military, you do not need to read Ibram Kendi. Even the idea, by the way, that the military is some open, free marketplace of ideas, where the military literally brainwashes you. That's like the point of military training. Yep. And now they're doing that in Marcuse, in Mao, in all of the people, actually, that I talk about in this book, Speechless, coincidentally. I mean, that is the infiltration that we've seen in all our institutions. So now it's there. And every moment that they're reading Kendi and Mao is a moment that they're not reading a worthwhile writer.
Yes. Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu,
Yeah.
right.
I
Or
mean, the classics.
Right, or Klaus Fitz or somebody, yeah.
We had Bannon the other day, and he said, we're winning. We're winning. He said he was against all the violence at the Capitol. He was in favor of the commission investigating it, get to the bottom of how it happened, because the violence is bad. He was like, come August 15th, when these kids go back to school, these moms in the suburbs are going to explode when they see what's being taught to these kids and what they're mandating, putting the kids in the corner, make them wear a mask, whatever it is. But I really do think, imagine what happens when, first of all, imagine this. Your kid just turned 18, wants to join the Navy.
Yeah.
He comes back to visit you after basic training, and it's like, so what'd you learn? And he's like, I learned you're an evil oppressor, white devil. They're going to be like, what? That's the basic training? But you're supposed to be hardened and get in shape.
People were so shocked when the Navy, it wasn't even the Navy. There are a lot of jokes to make about the Navy over this, but it wasn't even the Navy. It was the Army came out with that ad.
Yes.
And they said, it was that cartoon of the young girl, and she said, I became a strong soldier because my lesbian moms took me to pride parades as a kid. You think, oh, okay, I don't know about that. This is not by accident. When we can laugh about it and say, oh, how funny, the CIA went woke. CIA has actually been woke for a long time, but the Army went woke. The purpose of this is to attract leftist people and to repel conservative people to finish that infiltration of the institutions. And it's obviously working. That is a very dangerous thing, because once that one goes, we're out. We're out of the culture, aren't we?
Yeah, this is this is the first time I've really thought of this as life and death for our species. If the not that the American military is like the great protector. There's a lot of I have
Pretty big
United States bias, obviously. I come from the U.S. I've been taught propaganda.
America's
U.S.
great.
propaganda
Maintains the world.
It's pretty
peace,
cool
right?
though, and if it gets co-opted, not only did it lose a war, but it's on the side of that which co-opted it. So it's like double your enemy.
It is, the critical theory of it all. I know these terms get thrown around now, and now the left is retreating into this nominalism of, well, what really is critical theory?
Right.
What really? But the theory is very simple. The theory is to criticize. Whenever some reporter tries to have a gotcha with what is critical race theory, it's very simply it's to ruthlessly criticize all that exists, in the words of Marx. So that's what they're doing. And the idea that we need deconstruction in the military, we need destruction from the military, but we don't need deconstruction within the military. That's a recipe for national death, which is probably what they want.
I mean, physical deconstruction of foreign military bases
Enemies.
with use of ordnance, yes. Philosophical deconstruction of the system in place, which we use to defend our country, not so much, but that's what's happening.
But this I think brings up an important point for conservatives, or even people who are just not woke, who are kind of normal. The reason they fail a lot of the time is because they are arguing in fantasy world American government. So that when they make arguments about American politics, they're making arguments about the three branches of government and the checks and balances and the separation and the thing that you probably are no longer taught in civics class, but you used to be taught. The left is playing in the political realities. Where are our laws made? Are they, I am a bill and I call myself, and you're made on Capitol Hill and then you... No, our bills are made by some faceless, nameless bureaucrat in some gray building in Washington, D.C., or even outside of Washington, D.C. Our laws are effectively made by oligarchs in Silicon Valley. As Mitch McConnell pointed out the other day, they behave like a woke parallel government. The left knows that, so they engage in politics in a much more effective way because they go where the power really is, not the fantasy of where power used to be 100 years ago.